Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Chisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Here's why super hot girls are less likely to get married. No more wasting time. Let's get it.
Here's why super hot girls are less likely to get married. In order for a marriage to last, you need to be incredibly tolerant and incredibly forgiving. But what happens with beautiful women is that they are surrounded by men that will give them false promises on a daily basis. So they believe that male behavior should be almost flawless. So when a relationship requires compromise and forgiveness, they don't see why they need to do that when they can simply replace the man they have for a brand new one who won't make the same mistakes, even though he might. Second reason is that most long-lasting committed relationships end up being quite monotonous, boring, and there tends to be a lack of desire and attraction after a period of time. And really beautiful women are not used to this. They are accustomed to men tripping over themselves to spend time with them or to be around them. So when they're with a man who starts to become indifferent to their beauty, they feel like they need to replace the man rather than accept the process, and they end up back on the...
All right, guys, that was it. So what this woman was basically doing was answering the question of why really attractive women, she said super hot girls, usually don't get married. And then she explained that it simply just comes down to the fact that they have plenty of options and, in short, aren't willing to compromise and work with the man. They would rather just replace that guy. Now, of course, guys, to some extent, I think we're all pretty familiar with how this works, but I want to go over a few things that she said just to really show you guys how true this actually is, and also show why a lot of these women end up losing in the end. Some end up realizing the mistakes that they made, but based on my own personal experience dealing with like tens and really attractive women, and I'm sure your own personal experience, you know this is true, right? She starts out by saying what happens is they are surrounded by men that will give them false promises on a daily basis. It goes on to say that they believe that male behavior should be almost flawless. Why? Because on a daily basis, these women are dealing with men, simps a lot of the times, who put them up on pedestals, and they know that those men are willing to give them the world. So when they run into a guy who doesn't pander or simp towards women, she's like, man, I've got hundreds of guys, thousands actually, in my DMs right now on a dating profile at my job who risk everything, spend all their money just to be with me. Why should I compromise with you, right? And the way she put it in this video is that when a relationship requires compromise and forgiveness, they don't see why they need to do that when they can just replace the man for who? A perfect man. Is essentially what these women are looking for, because any relationship you get into is going to require a degree of compromise and forgiveness. But to a lot of these delusional tens, they don't think that's the case. They think there's a man out there who's perfect and will meet their every need, their soulmate, right? If you try to give them any type of reality and say, hey, you just have to compromise here, they won't see it.
This coffee smells like shit.
They don't like that coffee. And just think about it. If 5s and 2s in our day and age today, 5, 6s, average looking women refuse to compromise, what more women who are actually 10s? What more women who are extremely attractive? You can expect that the level of entitlement, what they think they deserve from men, will be off the charts, right? Here's an example, because she said, these women believe the promises from other men, which is why they think men are so easily replaceable. You may be asking, what type of promises? Let me give you guys an example of a very attractive woman may go through. I've heard multiple stories, right? Start with the story that a female acquaintance once told me. The first story I'll tell you guys is her being in an airport and running into a guy. The guy was pretty well off. He was so attracted to her that they hung out for an hour. Now, in that hour, he spent thousands of dollars on her shopping in that airport, buying her brand name clothing. He was cashing out. He was tricking, doing anything possible to secure that chick. The only way he knew how, which is to buy her expensive stuff. Nevertheless, man, when guys do this for women, they don't understand, a lot of guys, that they put you in a category of worship, right? You're essentially putting her on a pedestal and you're telling her, my God, I don't know anything about you, but just your beauty alone, I'm willing to do anything for you spend thousands of dollars for you. So he was simping, right? And what happened? Well, she never talked to him again. That's what happened. She never saw him again. She never flew out to see him again. Another example is guys who run into these women and say things like, listen, I will marry you. They'll just start out straight up like that, right? And these won't be broke dudes. These will be men who are well off. I will marry you if you have my babies. I'll take care of your bills. I'll do this and that. And they essentially promise these women the world. And when they come across a guy who is not willing to tolerate any level of like disrespect or entitlement, takes him out on a coffee date and wants him to earn that good treatment, they're comparing you to the amount of men who are feeding them those promises, which are usually lies. Because the truth is, what happens, right? If a woman gives it up to one of those guys, he's just going to use her for sex. In most cases, after he gets tired of her, you think he's going to keep paying your bills? For a lot of women, accepting those advances for men who are like, oh, I'll take care of you, you're going to be my baby, it's usually an introduction into high-end sex work, right? You're selling that cat at that point. Or maybe they're not. But nevertheless, the false promises are the guys who are telling everything they would do. Man, if you were my girl, I would do this and that. I'll drink your bathwater. All types. Guys out here are simps, and they are thirsty as hell. Let me tell you guys a personal story. I remember one time, bro, I was dealing with this chick. It was very attractive, right? She was attractive enough that I did everything to make sure I didn't let her know that I thought she was that attractive. That's kind of the thing you have to do with a lot of these women. You know, you don't want to validate most women, but especially very, very attractive women, because they get that on a daily basis. Rarely do they run into men who make them work for attention. Eventually it gets old, they get tired, and real life starts to set in, and that's when they start to leave because, you know, the excitement's over. We'll get into that later. So I'm with this chick, man, and we're going to some date. I don't remember what exactly it was. I remember it was at night. We're driving, and she was taking me somewhere. She set up the date, and she was really excited about it. She was talking about it for a while. On the way to the date, I remember playing my music. I love rap music. I've got my music playing. I'm in the passenger seat. We're chilling, going to this destination, this date that she has planned that I really don't know much about. Really attractive girl. But what was about to happen really supports what this chick in this video was talking about, right? And she's over there seemingly relaxing as well, right? I thought she was in her right mind, just driving to this destination, when all of a sudden she says, hey, my back kind of hurts, right? And she says, can you massage my back? I'm doing something really important on my phone at the time. I think it was something for work. I was getting work done. I work all the time, guys. All the time on my phone working, even while I was hanging out with her, which was no problem at the time because it was a long ride, a long trip. I say, hold on a second. I will. Just let me finish up what I'm doing real quick. I probably was sending an email or something. I don't remember. But I do remember this. That to her was the wrong response. She wanted me to massage her back. And she wanted me to stop what I was doing. I know this because she asked again. She says, hey, my back's kind of sore. I would love a massage right now. Now it sounds like you're punking me, right? And I'm looking at this not as a request of hey, massage my back, I'd appreciate it. Now it's like, it's turning into a shit test. Now you're trying to test to see if, oh man, you know, this guy's kind of difficult to deal with. I don't know how much he cares about me. Maybe I should ask him to massage my back. Wrong move. I sat there. I said, hey, calmly, always calm, always be calm. I said, hey, like I said, as soon as I'm done, if you just give me a little bit of time, I'll massage your back. Don't worry. I'll get back to what I'm doing. She says, I'm asking you, turns down the music, to massage my back, and you're telling me to wait, and I'm taking you on this nice trip? Oh my word. I was like, oh man, here we go. And listen, out of nowhere, this chick starts to turn up, right? Turning down the music. If you just massage my back, that's so selfish of you. I need a massage. I want a massage right now. You better massage my back. I'm doing this for you. I'm sitting there like, yo. You see, when a woman turns up, what she wants you to do is turn up with her. how you control the situation is to turn down. And I don't mean give in to her wants and needs, but to remain stoic and not be emotional. That's what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to be emotionally invested in the request and conversation. And so while she's going off and talking about how ungrateful I am and I just need to massage her back, on command, I respond. I said, don't you think you're blowing this a little bit out of proportion? She says, no, I'm not. See, what she wanted is for her to say, hey, could you massage my back? And for me to get behind her and start massaging her. And I was busy. What I was doing was important. And to her, that would have been validation that, okay, I'm still in control of this situation. This situationship I was in, we weren't really seriously dating like that. But a lot of these women there, when they like to be in control, they like to feel like they have the leverage and the power. And if they don't, then they act up. This is where the climax happened, when she looked at me and said, if you don't massage my back, I will turn this car around. Oh, man.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
Can't make this shit up. So at this point, I already knew that this wasn't going to end very well. Because at this point, now you're trying to test my alpha. Right? Again, I'm not calling myself an alpha, never have. I don't think men should, but this is, for lack of better words, a woman testing you to see if you really are a man who is in charge of your life, if you mean what you say. That's what she's doing. She's testing your alpha. And that's when I calmly responded, I think it's best you take me back home. Right? And that was that. It wasn't the last time I dealt with her, because of course you show a woman that everything she believes is true and you are who she thinks you are, you tend to come back. But guys, the main point of me sharing that story was this. At that point, I knew that this was not a woman who is used to, like the woman said earlier, compromise. You can't have a relationship with the type of man who you expect to lead or won't accept anything less if you're unable to compromise as a woman. So proving what the lady said earlier to be true. All right, guys, so I want to get back to the point that the lady was trying to make in the video, why very attractive women usually tend to not marry. One of the other reasons she gave is that relationships tend to be monotonous and boring, and there tends to be a lack of desire and attraction after a period of time. And then she went on to explain how attractive women aren't used to that because they're usually used to men tripping over them, complimenting them, validating them. And so what usually happens is when they get in a relationship, the man eventually starts to realize that this woman is not made of gold and diamonds, right? That her shit stinks too. And he becomes indifferent to her beauty. She can't handle that he's now indifferent to her. And she can't accept that that's just the reality of life and the way relationships work. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't spice things up, but I think most people know that there is a honeymoon phase and things kind of play out over time in relationship, but it's not about those feelings. It's about the larger commitment, which very attractive women aren't willing to commit to. And guys, you might be listening to this and thinking, wow, that sounds great. That's great that these women can do that. And it does sound great for beautiful women because they have the leverage. In fact, you could say they are the top % women just based on how much importance men place on physical attraction when it comes to qualifying women for relationships. But there's only one problem, is that unlike a high value man who has leverage, the woman eventually has to meet the wall. And you can only play that game of replacing the guy you're with now for the next perfect, potentially perfect guy before it starts to have major consequences in your life as a woman. Women, as shown by studies and a data analyst that I brought to my platform, you guys should go check out that video if you haven't seen it, all have a fertility window and an optimal opportunity where they're most attractive to lock down that mystical, perfect man that they are looking for. That's all women, including the 10s. Unfortunately, for a lot of these women, these 10s in specific, they never find these perfect men. So if you've ever come across a really attractive older woman. Because, even though some of these women are older, some of them are relatively attractive, and you can look at them and say, well, you shouldn't have too hard of a time locking down a man. Well, what that should tell you is she shouldn't, but she does. Not because there are no men out there who'd be willing to work with her, but more likely because she has some serious issues when it comes to maintaining a healthy romantic relationship with a man. And these lack of skills eventually just lead to plain delusion, right? Years and years of thinking that you're the prize, and now you're 35, now you're 50. These women will be 40, 50 years old, depriving themselves of coffee.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
And still believing that they are the prize, which is insane. But they don't know how to live any other way, because for the majority of their life, they were receiving attention and maybe still receive some attention as they get older and still believe the promises that men give them that one day I will marry you. They're all lies. Reality never sets in for some of these women. So again, for the men out here, when you run into an older woman, very attractive, instead of convincing yourself that you've stumbled on some hidden gem that no man has seen, what's more realistic is there's a reason why this woman is over 30, relatively attractive, and single. Most of these women think they're God's gift to earth, think they're irreplaceable, in turn making them very difficult partners to get along with. Listen, this is exactly why men, when given the option, would rather wife a solid 8, 7, 7.5 before they ever deal with the problems and the entitlement and the lack of compromise, forgiveness that a 10 will bring to the table. In most cases, it's just too much for most men to want to deal with long term, right? Peace of mind is important. So one last thing here, guys, before I take off, of course, we've got some comments here that I want to read. First comment comes from a woman and it says, why do we have to pair up? It's not a guarantee of happiness. So unless you actually need to have a partner, stay single, love yourself, and love life. All right, so this woman here has come to terms with the fact that she wants to be alone, and that's okay, right? As long as she's not complaining about it, that's fine. Another guy responds and says, wise words. Another person added to the conversation says, if we don't pair up, we are still social creatures, and while not a guarantee of happiness, it does give more stability and support, which is true. And the last comment says probably benefits men more. Okay. Probably benefits men more. Our economy was not designed for us to be out here living on our own. But hey, a lot of women share this viewpoint, which is why in the next, I think they said like by 2030, 45%, some people say half of women will be unmarried and single. That's going to increase the rate of homelessness. Benefit men more? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, man. We'll have to wait and see. Next comment here says, wait until they hit 35. They compromise as the clock is ticking if they want kids. Yeah, that's very true. Because that marks the start of geriatric pregnancy. But apart from that, man, wait until they hit 30. When you look at studies like the data taken from OkCupid, the amount of attention that a 25-year-old gets, that same woman at 30 literally cuts down to half. Next, we have another comment that says, what do these women do when they age and the beauty cannot be replaced? They get very depressed. They get very, very depressed. Next comment here reads, this is true. Studies show that the more beautiful you are, the more likely you are to cheat because of the amount of replacement options. Another woman here says, yes, I didn't get angry or chase, I replace. I'm assuming that's supposed to say, I don't get angry or chase, I replace. I don't tolerate boys. That's the attitude you're dealing with. That's what you're dealing with women who, not only the ones who are actually 10s, but like this, the ones who think that they're 10s would try to adopt that same mentality. You know what's funny is that they're worse. They're worse in their entitlement than the women who are actually 10s. Another comment here says, gorgeous ones also become quite vicious when they are older and no longer desirable as they once were. I can see that. Next comment here from another woman says, they know their worth. That's why they don't settle. Listen, guys, as always, curious to know what you think. Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of The Coffee Pot. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.